in the road maroon. Ewin and Reed to jump center. And the Demon Deacons have possession.
Florida State is going to play that pressing man-to-man. They're going to try to get out of the passing lanes. They're going to switch everything. And
blocked at the rim.
Shots.
The top shot blocking team in the league out in transition, and it's stripped out of bounds. It'll stay with Florida State. Here's their starting five: Jackson Davis, Watkins, over 18 points per game, Bol Bowen, and then they go with Ewin in the middle.
Wake Forest, they'll play man-to-man. They don't get out in the passing lanes. They're more of a help and recover. They pressure the ball, but they're not trying to deny the next pass.
Corner three, front rim, a miss from Bol Bowen. And the rebound, Wake Forest, their starters, Hildreth, Johnson, Sallis, Spillers, and Reed the third. Quick hands, Watkins with the steal, and a run-out dunk opens up the scoring.
You cannot be lackadaisical with your passes against this Florida State team.
Florida State leads the league in forced turnovers, in steals, and blocks, and they're the second tallest team in the country. Hildreth inside, left it short. And it's Florida State basketball.
Florida State, as you mentioned, they're one of the top steal teams in the Atlantic Coast Conference, and that's a situation where Johnson simply didn't step to the ball. You have to step to the ball and make Watkins run into you in that situation. Very poor start for Wake Forest. But of course, it's hard to look good on offense against this Florida State defense.
Ten to shoot for the Seminoles. Ewin, half hook, back rim. Two of the top defensive teams in the league. Johnson spinning, a miss, and a collision and a foul called on Wake Forest. Florida State, their defensive ranks, there they are, first in the league in steals, blocks, top 3 in field goal percentage defense, 4th in guarding the arc. What makes them so elite defensively?
They're very quick, they're very long. They have guys who are 6'11" like Ewin who can switch and guard a guard. They're just very tough to contend with.
Florida State with the blunder, their first turnover.
And Wake Forest is another team that generates steals. Now Wake's got to get the ball movement a little bit.
Hildreth trying to jet baseline, lost it on the way up. Loose ball. Still on the floor.
Now the shot clock never reset, and I don't know that Johnson realizes it.
4 to shoot, the lob, and the finish. Nice catch at the rim by Spillers.
Now that scramble situation wasn't what Steve Forbes wanted to see, but it did get the defense out of position and created an easy opportunity for the Deeks. They have to do that with their passing and cutting. And keep in mind, Reed just picked up a silly foul.
Bol Bowen will toe the line for Florida State. And Florida State very good at getting to the free throw line.
And again, the defense moves around. There's a mismatch inside. Daquan Davis is trying to go up against Spillers, and that's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of those with as much as Florida State switches, and Wake Forest has to be patient enough to find them.
Taylor Bol Bowen is a 75% foul shooter. Florida State as a team, they're second in the league in made free throws per game. They get 17 points per game from the line.
Now they score 24% of their points from beyond the arc. So like Wake, they're not a great three-point shooting team, but they get 21% from the free throw line. So you got to keep them off the line.
Florida State with some token pressure.
Just trying to make you run time off the clock. And Reed, who picked up that rebounding foul, now has to be extremely careful.
Sallis, 7 to shoot. Double on Reed. Sallis relocates, a three's offline, and the rebound FSU.
And Wake is well documented there. Not a great three-point shooting team there in travel. In fact, in conference play, the Deacs have scored more points from the free throw line than they have from beyond the three-point line. But the way this game has started, a little bit disjointed, a little bit sloppy. This is the kind of game we expected because both of these teams are outstanding defensive teams.
Who does that favor, this type of play?
Well, Wake Forest, the defense has been their calling card the entire year. So even though we showed you Florida State's impressive defensive numbers, I don't think that works necessarily as a disadvantage to the Deacs. Because the Deacs can guard you too. The question is, can the Deacs get inside to score? That's where they do most of their damage.
Wake Forest has 82 points in the paint in their last 2 games. They outscored Cal 48-16 in the lane.
See, now Blue, when he's got this mismatch, he needs to get down inside. But again, Davis switches.
Johnson double pump, can't finish, and Wake has started 1 for 6 from the field.
Well, they've taken tough shots.
Outside drive and kick, a 3 from Daquan Davis. Just his 20th on the year. He's less than 30% from distance.
Well, we said they are not a great three-point shooting team.
Hildreth curling. The deflection stays with Wake Forest. We've reached our first media timeout. Florida State's jumped out to a 5-point lead early. Coach K said it best. He didn't just lead a team, he led a program.
He's an inspiration to an awful lot of young men.
Another miss by Wake at the rim. They're getting good looks, but not getting them down.
Or they're getting close looks. I'm not sure that they're necessarily very good. You go more quickly because of Florida State's size, and you're very conscious of that. Wake needs to calm down.
Spin move, Ewin had it blocked off the glass.
That's a great job by Spillers coming to help.
5-point lead for the Seminoles early on.
Ball's got to move. You can't hang on to the ball against the Seminoles or that kind of thing happens.
That's their second steal. Watkins with the hammer, taking flight. It's a 7-0 Florida State run, and that's the second dunk for Watkins.
Well, Florida State is an outstanding team when they can get out and go, and Wake Forest has already given them a couple turnovers to allow them to get out and go. Be a long night unless the Deacs can straighten that out.
Sallis against Watkins, who just had that thunderous slam, and Watkins is whistled for the foul. That's his first personal and the first foul called on the Seminoles.
Well, again, you get to steal and down the court they come, and they are really good when they can play in transition. And Watkins lets everybody know about it.
He's an incredible story. He started his playing career at VCU, averaged only about 7 or 8 points per game, transferred to Florida State. He'll become the first player in his family to earn his degree at Florida State, and over 18 points per game, top 4 in this conference. Wake hasn't scored in over 3 minutes. Quick hands by the Seminoles, and Sallis finally gets the whistle that the Demon Deacons were looking for on this end.
We mentioned that Wake Forest is not a very good three-point shooting team. They don't rely very much on the three. Most of their offense comes from getting into the lane, and Steve Forbes' guys simply have not been able to do that. The Florida State defense has kept them out of the lane, has harassed them when they've been able to get in the lane. Very few clean looks for the Deacs.
And Sallis, a 79% foul shooter, bricks the first one. Steve Forbes, 89-60 at Wake Forest in his 5th season. 3 straight 10-win campaigns in league play. They're off to a tremendous start, 10-3 in the ACC, their best start in conference play since the 04-05 campaign. A deep 3 from Dang, and the rebound Sallis.
And what a great block out by Ballou to keep the top offensive rebounder in the ACC. Ewin off the board.
Sallis
Well,
Sallis says, I see you, Jamir Watkins. That's big time.
well, again, we talked about the fact they're struggling to get into the lane, and here he's got to get by 3 guys and goes up over a 7-footer. Good heavens.
And that was the first made field goal for Wake in over 3 minutes.
And that's as tough a shot as you'll see. I mean, when I say tough, I mean a tough guy making it.
Wake Forest is a slower, lower possession basketball team. A lot of their points in the paint, coach said, comes in the half court. Meanwhile, Florida State likes to get out and run. Ewin on the pick and the flare and the deflection and a steal. A rim run. Spiller. He'll go to the line to shoot a pair.
And as we see, you're just talking about how Wake gets a lot of their stuff in the half court, James, but Wake, they can really steal the ball as well, and they can get out and go. And again, those big guys from Florida State, they jump at you, and it's hard to finish.
Trayvon Spillers, 63% for the year from the stripe. And the southpaw knocks it through. Both of these teams are towards the bottom of the league in threes made per game and three-point percentage.
In ACC play, they are the 2 bottom teams in the league. Wake Forest is number 18 at 5.2, and Florida State is number 17 at 6.
Wake's on a quiet 6-0 run.
Well, I would say quiet, except that that dunk by Sallis wasn't very quiet. Here's what we're talking about with the 3-point shooting and the defense. Neither team very good shooting the 3. Both teams very good defensively.
A foul out high called on Omaha Ballou, who's been bothered by injuries this season. This is only his 6th game of the year.
And he really helps them. He's 6'8", weighs about 220 pounds, is strong enough to play inside, runs very well. He can be a critical piece for Wake Forest down the stretch.
Yeah, remember this kid was a consensus 5-star recruit out of high school. Turning the corner, mid-range pull-up is an air ball. He'll hear it from the crowd. Ballou on the break. Spins into trouble. Powers it up, doesn't get the roll. Fans wanted a whistle.
That ball's got to come out of there. With so many guys around you, it's going to be tough to score that one.
A foul, jumper doesn't go. It'll put Jerry Dang at the stripe for Florida State, a 72% shooter. And that's already the 4th team foul called on Wake. And it's on Trayvon Spillers, his first personal foul.
Now keep in mind that Wake Forest does not play a lot of guys. Florida State, Leonard Hamilton likes to play 10 or 11 guys, and injuries have prevented he and his staff from doing that this year. But Wake Forest does not play that many. They cannot afford foul trouble.
That ends the 6-0 run from Wake Forest and ends a 2-minute scoring drought for the Seminoles.
Each team really attacking on both ends of the court. We've had as many steals as field goals.
It's been a physical 7 minutes of basketball.
As you would expect.
Florida State with this token pressure.
Well, what that does, Wake Forest hadn't even set up their offense, and there's 18 seconds left on the shot clock.
And Hildreth has only attempted 1 field goal, coming off 3 consecutive 20-point efforts. Here he is with the ball, one-on-one. Burrows into the lane, has it rejected at the rim.
Well, again, that's Hildreth's game, but he's going into the lane. They haven't really moved the defense around. You can see Thomas come over from the side. He had a clear run at him. You got to keep those guys occupied, or that's what they're going to do. Every time you drive in, somebody's flying to block the shot.
Second tallest team in the nation. Florida State's roster features 10 players over 6'7". Desperation three with the shot clock winding down. Rebound out of bounds. And it'll stay on this end with Wake Forest.
Boy, that's Efton Reed hustling after that ball, and you like to see that hustle. But boy, that was close to him picking up his second foul. And because that ball hit the rim, now it's going to be a 20-second reset. That was a really tough shot by Juke Harris.
You brought up the depth in this one. Florida State's already played 9 guys.
Well, that's what they like to do. Leonard Hammond will tell you, your 5 may be better than my 5, but my 10 are better than your 10.
Sallis drifting, missing, rebound, and a putback dunk for Reed.
And you can see how important Reed is to this team. He just can't be spending a lot of time in this game on the bench.
Those are his first points, coming off a career-high 19 last time out against Cal. Next dead ball will send us to the under-12 media timeout. Stepping into a 3, wide right. Rebound batted around. The freshman has it, finds the cutter. Florida State playing volleyball with it. Sallis, he's out of bounds. It'll be Florida State basketball when we come back. It's a dunk fest here in Winston-Salem. Watkins, look out. Seminoles by 1. Number 1 Auburn against number 2 Alabama at 4 Eastern in a Sonic blockbuster. Then Syracuse hosting North Carolina. And at 8 Eastern, number 15 Kentucky squares off against Texas at the Moody Center in Austin. Florida State has led wire to wire here in the first 7 and change. Back side lob and a dunk. Beautifully designed play. The slam from Ewin out of the timeout.
Well, Wake Forest doesn't switch the screens. Reed jumps out and it calls hedging the screen, and he just got too far away from his man, and they found Ewin. That's a really nice play by Florida State.
Third dunk already for the Seminoles. Reed off the back rim. How does Wake Forest get Reed or Cameron Hildreth going? 2 points between the two.
They have to do a better job moving the ball, and Florida State makes that hard to do, but Wake Forest has to fight through that pressure.
Long pass. Out of bounds. And it's Wake Forest basketball. That is the 3rd turnover on the Seminoles.
Reed steps out and just can't get back in time. And I think he does a very good job of smart play, not trying to block that shot. He would have picked up a foul. But that's a nice job by Florida State to recognize that Reed is really pushing those screens and to see if they can make him pay for it.
Hildreth one-on-one against the ball, much longer. Bol Bowen and a foul on the floor. Hildreth trying to bang his way inside. That's the 5th foul on Florida State and the 1st on Bowen.
Hildreth is really good posting up, but it's going to be hard for him to post up on Bol Bowen, who's 6'10". But Hildreth is a fighter. He's going to stay right after you. Force Bol Bowen to foul.
It's a great example of that Seminole length. That was 6'4", trying to post up 6'10". Hildreth, step back 3, and he swishes it through.
Well, he's the best three-point shooter, and he's going to have to make a few tonight.
First 3 of the game for Wake Forest. Florida State shooting just 33% from the floor. Wake at 26%. 8 to shoot for the Seminoles. Ewin with 4, works his way into the lane, lost it, and another Wake Forest steal.
And Ewin is looking to the referees for help, and that's a very bad sign. This is not the kind of game where you're going to get help from the officials. You just have to tough it out.
Florida State's been bit by those 5 turnovers in this first half. Double pump, and 1. And Wake Forest has their first lead of the contest.
And we talked about toughness, and this is just a very tough play here. Harris loses the ball going in, but he's able to recover, and in spite of the pressure, there are 4 Seminoles around him, and yet he's able to maintain his balance and score. And then the little flex right there. That is a really good play by the freshman. Not the flex, the drive to the basket.
All of the above.
Yes, there you go. Check all the boxes.
It's another 6-0 Wake run. That was the second foul on Taylor Bol Bowen. He averages over 9 points per game for Florida State.
This is his first game back. He's missed a couple with a head injury. So it's good to see him back out on the court again.
Watkins has re-entered the lineup for the Seminoles. Had those 2 authoritative dunks. 8 to shoot. Davis probing, driving kick, corner 3, short.
That's a nice job rebounding by both Reed and Spillers, who blocked out Ewin.
Wake has made 3 of their last 4 after they started just 2 for 12. Some razzle-dazzle. Hildreth with the finish.
A little too much complaining to the referees by the guys from Florida State.
Timeout on the floor. Wake Forest has built their largest lead of the night. Wake Forest is on an 8-0 run over the last 90 seconds. What's clicking for the Demon Deacons?
They're finally getting the ball inside. They're able, and I don't mean getting it all the way to the basket necessarily, although they've done that, but they're getting it close to the goal, and they're scoring despite pressure. And now, I can understand why Florida State would have some objections to the fact that there was no call on that last play, for example. But as a player, you have to not be yelling at the referees. Let that man do it. He's good at it. He's had a lot of experience.
Only 1 made field goal for Florida State in the last 6 minutes.
Because Florida State has not been able to get it inside the defense. They've taken a couple of threes, and they're not a very good three-point shooting team.
Here's another 3 that's an air ball. Out of bounds to Wake Forest.
Case in point, Florida State cannot be launching a 3, even though Dang is a pretty good three-point shooter, with only 1 or 2 passes. They've got to move that defense around and create some opportunities.
The Seminoles make just 6 threes per game. They've started 1 for 6 tonight.
Well, it's not one of their strengths. They can make them, but they don't make them at a high rate, and you have to play to your strengths in a game like this.
Sallis, Reed, nice pass. Spillers is open, and he snaps the net.
That's only a nice pass because Spillers made that basket. Reed has to dunk that ball.
And Florida State's out of bounds. That is their 6th turnover. Wake Forest is on an 11-0 flurry.
After the pass out by Reed, there's nobody around, and Spillers is able to knock it down. And again, shooting the 3 is not the strength of Wake Forest either. Spillers, that's only his 5th made 3 in ACC play, shoots under 30%.
Wake has built an 8-point lead. 3-ball Harris. Watkins 1-on-4. Euro step stripped. And it stays with Florida State on this end. Sends us to our under 8 media timeout. Wake Forest has their largest lead.
If there's foul trouble, you see those guys come out of the game. And Hildreth just saved that play. He wasn't credited with anything, but he stripped that ball away from Watkins. Now he picks up a foul. Hildreth is extremely aggressive, but the referee is never going to let you come from behind and knock the ball away like that.
It's his first personal foul, the 5th Wake Forest team foul. Florida State hasn't scored in almost 4 minutes.
They haven't been able to get the ball inside. They need to find Ewin around the goal.
Watkins gives it up. A good looks off the back rim from Holt.
Ewin has to handle the ball inside.
Is Florida State taking too many threes? That was their 7th.
Well, that's definitely too many threes. You know, they're taking 15 shots and 7 of them are threes. That's not a formula for success for the Seminoles.
It's not their game. Out of bounds, Wake Forest with the turnover. That's their third. It's Florida State basketball.
It's very difficult not to do it, but you can't pick up your dribble against Florida State unless you have an avenue to pass the ball, because they're going to swarm it. That's the first turnover in a while for Wake Forest. So they've shot it better, they haven't turned it over, and really they've stepped up their defense.
They've scored the last 11 points. Watkins into the lane, slicing, it's blocked. Hildreth on the run. Trailing three, Sallis, yes!
Hildreth was playing bumper cars down the court, but he still was able to make a great pass. Now he's helping the referees, and he just stole the ball.
It's a tie-up, and the possession arrow keeps it with Florida State. Wake Forest is on a 14.
Tough for Watkins to get by, and then spill. He's fallen down, and he throws the ball exactly where he needs to go. And even though Sallis has not shot the three well this year, historically, he's a pretty good three-point shooter, was able to step into that one.
Sallis and Spillers each have 7. That's a game high for Wake Forest.
And Hildreth takes a blow for a minute. He deserves it. He's earned it.
It's a 14-0 run. Wake Forest on top. Watkins, that one barely scraped the front lip of the rim.
And another three. Wake Forest doing a nice job double teaming, keeping the ball away from Ewin.
The drought continues for the Seminoles. Green, he's banging, lost it. Ding, step through, and the finish, and that ends a scoring drought that ran almost 5.5 minutes for Florida State.
And that's their first fast break point in a while. They had 7, now they have 9, and that's what's keeping them close in this game. If you're Reed, you cannot simply back in and take that much time, because the defense is coming.
Offensive foul on the local product, the freshman, Juke Harris. 5th Wake Forest.
Stay in position. He established his legal guarding position. He can move to maintain it as long as you don't move toward the dribbler. And the Wake Forest faithful don't like that, but that looked like a pretty good call.
And it's a big call. It would have been the second foul on Watkins.
And another turnover for Wake Forest. They've struggled when they've turned it over.
It's been 11 combined blunders between these two teams as Holt rises up and swishes it home. Sallis, pocket pass and a jam from Harris.
That's what you have to be able to do. You can't force the shot. You draw the defense. Everybody's coming to block it, so you find the cutter. But they had a chance to get it to Ewin, and they didn't throw it to him.
They reverse it to Watkins. A hop step, stripped, wrenched loose by a Demon Deacon. Sallis looking for a second three. And it's out of bounds to Florida State.
That was a little optimistic. That was a deep three. But this is Sallis. He goes into the lane, and everybody's looking at the dribbler. And so Watkins turns his back on his man, and that man is able to cut to the basket and get an easy dunk. Nice pass by Sallis.
What's the formula for Florida State to knife into this deficit before the half?
Well, they have to get the ball inside. They can't settle for threes. And I think they have to figure out a way to get Ewin to handle the ball close to the goal.
Chandler Jackson operates the point out front.
Now, that's easier said than done. This is an outstanding Wake Forest defense.
The lob, nice seal, and Ewin with a gimme.
That's the formula. Yes, what the formula is, that's it.
Second basket for Malique Ewin, coming off his 8th double-double of the season, 18 points and 10 rebounds. Last time out for Florida State in their 7-point win over Notre Dame. Spillers, Banker, yes, he's up to 9.
That was really a good job by Johnson. I thought he might have been handling the ball a little too much, but it was a perfect amount because he got the defense where he wanted him and then made a great entry pass to Spillers. Spillers is having a good first half.
Corner three off the mark from Watkins, and Florida State is 1 for 9 from distance. Hildreth start. Turnaround, that's pretty.
That's what he does. I mean, you better get him stopped up around the top of the key, or you're not stopping him at all.
A mid-range savant. He has 7. Ton of contact on the interior and a foul called on Wake Forest. Cameron Hildreth, 3 straight games with 20 plus. He's up to 7 with this one right here.
Afford any stumbles. They started very slowly tonight, but they've made 10 of their last 18 shots.
Missed free throw from Ewin. Florida State led 9-2 right out of the chute. Here's Joe Lenardi's latest bracketology. Last 4 in: San Diego State, this Wake Forest team, and then BYU from the Big 12 and the SEC's Georgia.
Well, God bless Joe, but nobody's in or out yet.
Hildreth, he is feeling it. Wake Forest has their largest lead. It's up to 14.
But with his ability to drive the ball to the basket, when he's out there dribbling, you have to say, well, how close do I want to get to him? Because you get too close, he drives past.
He can score in bunches, up to 10 points. A foul off the ball called on Wake.
Well, it's called on Ballou, and he's battling inside against Ewin. And that's a good sign for Florida State. It means Ewin is fighting a little bit harder for position inside. And you don't necessarily want to try to, get in front of him and fight him for the ball. If you can, that's great, but block it, get behind him. When he gets the ball, Wake has been double teaming very effectively.
And he's missed 2 consecutive front ends of 1-and-1s.
And he's a very good free throw shooter.
Wake Forest has made 10 of their last 13. A lot of them from this guy, Hildreth. That one's offline. Largest lead of the night for Wake.
Mismatch inside. Can Florida State find it?
Dashing baseline. Nice pass. And the finish from Ewin.
Well, Ewin with a good defensive job against Hildreth on one end and then the basket on the other.
Piercing the lane. Johnson, miscommunication on the route. And that is the 6th Wake turnover.
But Johnson had the right idea. Ballou didn't. Ballou needs to cut to the basket. But of course, if you're Johnson, you don't throw that ball until you see him cutting to the basket. Wake, when they've turned the ball over, that's what's gotten Florida State going a little bit.
Wake Forest averages just over 11 per game.
Yeah, but you're going to turn the ball over against Florida State. There's no question about that.
To your point, the Seminoles force 14 per night, tops in the conference. 8 on the timer. Ewin. Rebound Wake.
That's what I'm talking about. You get behind him, now he's going to pick up a foul. You make him shoot over you, you block out.
That's his first personal foul. Down in the corner, there's an injured Seminole.
It's Davis.
Daquan Davis, the highly touted freshman, top 100 player out of high school.
Well, I hope he's okay. No, he just gave his coach the thumbs up. All the way in your right-hand corner. He goes down, looks like he got tangled up, maybe turned his ankle and went stumbling out of bounds.
So he'll check out for the Seminoles. That puts Wake at the line. They missed the front end of a 1-and-1. Out of bounds to Florida State. Well, this is one of the best women's basketball games on the schedule tomorrow night. Madison Booker and number 3 Texas square off against Georgia Amore and number 8 Kentucky at historic Memorial Coliseum in Lexington. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern on ESPN2 and the app. Amore averaging just a hair over 19 points per game. The Australian, the transfer from Virginia Tech. 10 to shoot. Florida State once again deep in the shot clock, and Watkins a missed 3. He is 0 for 3 from downtown, and Florida State is 1 for 10 as a unit. Harris lock and load.
That's too early. You know, Harris can shoot the 3, but I don't know that you want to do it.
Watkins leaning, some Ole defense, and a miss.
When you miss a 3, it allows the other team to get out and go. Wake Forest dodged a bullet there.
35 seconds before we break for the half.
With Ewin out of the game, you ought to see if you can get Reed down low.
Underneath, Reed right on cue. A two-handed slam from the bench. Down to 5 seconds. Seminoles, they've got to go. Driving kick. Corner 3 is an air ball at the horn. Wake Forest, they have built a 14-point. And you said at the top, Dan, that this could be a potential stumbling block for Wake Forest. Very much on the bubble. Part of the last 4 in, according to Joey Brackets. They're 60th in net, 67th in KenPom. Wake possession to start the final 40 minutes. Hildreth over the top. Reed, little half hook. Tapped around, Florida State clears.
That's perfect entry pass into Reed. That's a shot he really has to make.
Bouncing back door. Davis a 3. Florida State 1 for 12. Offensive rebound. Ewin.
That's his first offensive rebound of the day.
Second in the league with 3.5 per contest, and a miss point blank by the aforementioned Ewin. It stays on this end.
That's one that he normally takes and just dunks. But again, Wake Forest is doing a nice job contesting those shots without fouling. Nothing easy so far for the Seminoles. That's how you end up only scoring 21 points and a half.
Jackson with an alley, floats it up wide left, and a one-handed rebound from Reed.
After an excellent block out.
The rebounding 20-19 in favor of Wake Forest. A hop step from Hildreth, they left him.
You know, he gets in there, and yes, he could pass it back outside, but you don't want to leave him. Everybody went away. Good heavens.
He is so crafty. A 3 is up and in from Bol Bowen.
And he's their best three-point shooter in ACC play. And the only reason that's a good one is it went in. I thought that was much too early in the shot clock.
He's made 14 of his last 26 in the last 8 games for the Seminoles.
And Tyler Johnson, I mean, Steve Forbes' head is going to explode. That is a very poor play by your point guard.
Watkins, Florida State missing. And the rebound, Wake.
And Reed, he now has 7 rebounds in the game and another great block out. But it's easy for Reed to block out when Florida State doesn't move the ball from side to side. He doesn't have to go anywhere.
They've already hoisted 3 threes here in the first 2 minutes of this second half. Knocked out of bounds, stays on this end with the Demon Deacons.
Well, Wake Forest doesn't want to get in the habit of just immediately driving the ball. You want to make that defense move before you drive it.
Sallis lights it up.
And Reed was just a little slow getting there because he thought Sallis might drive the ball.
Largest lead of the night for Wake Forest after that Sallis triple. Hard hedge. Down to 5 on the timer. Bol Bowen all tangled up, a jump ball, and the arrow keeps it with the Seminoles.
That's twice in this game that Hildreth has done that. Now, each time the possession has gone to Florida State. I mean, you better be very strong with that ball when Hildreth is anywhere in the neighborhood.
Less than 5 to shoot for the Seminoles. Looking for the lob, it's bottled up. Davis, a hoist, and a push. A foul called on Johnson. That's his second. Florida State is
breaks for the Seminoles.
They're shooting just 29% tonight. Nine on the shot clock. Hop step, Watkins throws it up and in.
That's a really good play by a great player, but if that's the kind of shot you're going to get, that's one of the reasons why you're shooting 29%.
Why has he been quiet tonight? Just 6 for Watkins.
Well, he's been very well defended. I think they've done a nice job. When he's gotten the ball, they've done some double teaming. They forced him to give it up. Hildreth has been very good against him.
Remember his first 2 field goals were those early dunks. Extra pass. Sallis wiggles in, puts it through.
Now again, it worked out fine, but Reed needs to dunk the ball.
Wake by 16 once again. And Watkins draws a foul, slicing in.
And that you talked about how they've defended Watkins, and that's how they've done it. When he gets the ball and drives, that's by Hildreth, and what an acrobatic play by Sallis. That dunk he had in the first half might have been one of the best dunks I've seen all year, just because it was through such traffic.
It's been the Sallis and Watkins dunk contest early on. Davis, that's a circus shot. Tip in won't go, and Spillers with the front side rebound. Sallis wanted Reed, he throws it away. A run out. Bol Bowen through contact, powers it in. And an injury timeout. That's Hildreth down underneath for Wake Forest. Sends us to an immediate timeout. We'll check on the Wake Forest star guard when we come back. A scary scene for Wake Forest fans. Cameron Hildreth hobbling into the tunnel. He has left the floor.
You know, I mean, this is the way Hildreth plays. At 6'4", he's trying to block a 6'11" guy's layup, and it looks like he landed very awkwardly on that left leg, maybe. Boy, that's, ooh, I hope he's okay. That was a tough fall.
What kind of adjustments does Wake Forest make without him now? He has 12 points in 22 minutes.
But he's been their energy guy, and the adjustments they have to make is somebody else has to get involved. Maybe Hunter Sallis. Juke Harris is in the game for him, and Harris certainly has a lot of ability. He just doesn't have the experience that Hildreth has. And nobody has the grit that Hildreth has. Speaking of grit, he's going back, he's reporting into the game. So he wasn't out long.
Went to the locker room, got checked out. Now he's set to check in. Johnson landed the trees. Tip in, that's an acrobatic play by Harris.
There you go. Johnson is only 6 feet tall, and it's hard to go in there and get all the way to the basket, but because the defense is trying to block the shot, nobody's blocking out Harris.
Watkins, big steps, miss. It's claimed by Reed. Wake wants to run.
And Sallis did a great job coming over to double team right at the end of that play.
Sallis with the flash. He's doubled. Spillers for a three. And Florida State claims it.
Now, Spillers has made one tonight, but he's not a great three-point shooter.
Watkins trailing a three, drills it. Just the third three of the game for Florida State.
Spillers is running down the court grimacing. Grabbing at his hamstring, and now he sits down. That could be a cramp.
An official's timeout. Spillers, he'll head to the tunnel. And Wake Forest will bring in Omaha Malou and Cameron Hildreth back to the lineup. There's Hildreth with those 12 points. He's done it on 8 shots.
You know, I think Ballou, he hadn't scored points, but I think he's made a pretty important contribution off the bench. He's got a couple of rebounds. I think defensively, he's really helped Wake.
Wake has gone 7 deep tonight. He's been part of that rotation. Here he is for a three, short. But he's a very capable three-point shooter. 3 for 7 on the year before that one in his 5 games. Bol Bowen dashing baseline. Through traffic, Watkins, Davis a little bit closer, and he's fouled. Had a three, took a couple of dribbles, and he rises up from about 15.
Well, when you're struggling from 3, the advice I would give anybody is get closer. And so that's exactly what he did, and Ballou a little overly aggressive right there.
Foul is on Reed.
On Reed.
That's his second.
Well, Reed doesn't need to be fouling Daquan Davis.
Davis is an 82% foul shooter, best on this Florida State team. Well, coming up next on ACC Network, Cooper Flag and the number 3 Duke Blue Devils. They host Andre Stojakovic and Cal at Cameron Indoor. Duke ranked number 3 in the latest AP Top 25. Davis drills them both. Florida State still hanging around. They've got it down to 11.
And Florida State will hang around. They're not going anywhere. And they play, their defense is not going to quit. And if they can get some offense going. Now, Watkins, he's trying to be very aggressive, and you want to be aggressive, but you have to be smart about it. That foul accomplishes nothing 50 feet away from the basket.
That's his second personal. That's the first team foul called on Florida State in this stanza. Sallis cut off. An alley for Harris and a miss at the rim, and an aggressive rebound pulled down by Ewin. Florida State with a chance to get it down to single digits. Dang attacks, and he finger rolls it in. Too easy. Timeout, Steve Forbes and Wake Forest. Wake is led by as many as 16. Florida State has trimmed it to 9. They're on a 7-0 flurry. Today, South Carolina and UConn number 1 and number 2 respectively in the women's net rankings. How's Florida State been able to claw back?
Well, they've done a very good job defensively, and Wake has gotten sloppy with the basketball again.
Parker Fredrickson has entered the lineup, the sharpshooter for the Demon Deacons. Hildreth forced that one, and a run out. Davis one-on-one. Dang for 3. Tippett will finally go underneath for Ewing. 3 looks for the Seminoles. They're on a 9-0 burst. Hildreth rushing up the floor, draws a foul.
Good heavens.
Count it, and 1.
That was a basket that Wake Forest desperately needed. And as he was coming down the court, he looked like he was completely out of control.
Second foul on Malique Ewin. Hildreth is up to 14. It's organized chaos when he has the ball in his hands.
Well, it's organized chaos anytime you're playing against Florida State, because that's what they create. But the Seminoles, they've been able to get out and run a little bit more. They've knocked down a couple of threes in this half. And Florida State, they are such a good defensive team that if they can shoot the ball well, then they can look pretty good.
Leonard Hamilton coaching his last game in Winston-Salem. He's resigning at the end of the year. It's a 10-point lead for Wake. Big possession for the Seminoles. Watkins after the gamble, a three. The rebound tipped around into the hands of a Demon Deacon. Sallis feeling the break, the lob, and the flush. Spillers on the receiving end.
When Spillers continues to play extremely well, he's in double figures now.
11 points, 4 rebounds, a block. Ewin over the top. Didn't get the roll, but he's headed to the line to shoot 2 for Florida State.
That's 3 fouls on Reed.
Who's won that battle on the inside between those two guys?
Well, so far, I think Reed has done a nice job neutralizing Ewin on the inside. You know, we talked about Ewin in his last game with 18 points and 10 rebounds. He only has 6 points tonight.
Ewin has been so much better from the foul line this season. He's 24 for his last 28.
That's his first one tonight, though. He was 0 for 2.
His first 19 games, 59%. His last 4, 86.
And he's the guy who gets to the line, so it's really helpful when your big guy who gets to the line can convert them.
Florida State makes more free throws as a team per game than anybody else in the conference. Sallis in some trouble. Hildreth, big steps. Another finish and another foul. Wake Forest has pushed their lead back to 12. The no-look lob, and Spillers with the flush.
Of course, nobody's in and nobody's out just yet, but we'd love to talk about Joe.
Still a lot of ball to be played. Hildreth caps off the three-point play. He has scored 6 of the last 8 for the home team, Wake Forest.
And Frederick's has been in for a while. He didn't play in the last game. I think Steve Forbes trying to go a little bit deeper because of how intense this game has been.
Long 2 from Watkins, and that's smooth.
But Watkins is a guy who can put the ball in the basket. And Wake Forest needs to keep the pressure on him because he's a guy who can get very hot and put a lot of points up quickly.
He has 11, but it's taken him 14 shots to get there. Spillers a triple team. Outside Hildreth, hot hand continues. 21. That's 4 games in a row with 20 or more.
Well, when you're going to triple team inside, and that's fine, Hildreth is not the guy you want to leave open.
The lead is pushed back to 14 in favor of Wake. Closing in on the halfway point of this second session. A lot of dribbling and a foul called. It's on Spillers. He can't believe it. And that's going to be his second.
Wake Forest has done a pretty good job moving the ball. You see the triple team, you cannot leave Hildreth on the outside, and that's what Watkins did. You don't need a triple team, you need a double team. And here that ball squirts loose, and there's no need for Spillers to reach in and grab there, which he did because Hildreth had that one.
Watkins forcing a long 2. Sallis, he's fouled.
Well, he tried to do what he did in the first half, take it into a huge amount of traffic and dunk the ball. He did previously, got an and 1. That time, now he's going to the line for 2.
First team all-conference a season ago, averaging 18.4 points. Almost 50% from the field. Timeout on the floor. That was the 4th foul on Jamir. 20 left. Hunter Sallis, one of just 3 players with over 300 career-made field goals in the conference, joining R.J. Davis at North Carolina and Marcus Burton over at Notre Dame.
Well, it's hard to get there. You don't play that long anymore.
Perfect on the free throw. Should it be surprising that Watkins is still on the floor with 4 fouls?
No.
Do you dare take him out?
No, I don't think you can take him out at this point. You just have to trust your veteran player that he knows how to play with 4 fouls. A lot of coaches say you save a guy with 3 fouls, but with 4 fouls, there's no reason to do it.
Here's Watkins getting in deep, and he's fouled. Going to the line to shoot 2.
Now, the one problem for Watkins is he is going to be aggressive offensively, and lots of times you can be careful defensively, but sometimes you get ahead of yourself offensively. He could very easily pick up a charge. He drives by, and Spillers gets into him with the body. And if you don't jump there, you just put your hands straight up in the air, that's not going to be a foul.
That's the 3rd personal foul on Trayvon Spillers.
And Wake can ill afford to lose him. He's really been good tonight.
A miss from Watkins, a 75% marksman at the line.
You know, he keeps holding his elbow. And I didn't notice him fall on his elbow. And maybe that's just his habit after he misses a free throw, but who knows?
Let's see what he does after the second. He missed that one. He goes 0 for 2. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, if you're Florida State, you have to pressure the ball.
Deep 3 from Sallis.
I don't know what that was all about. You know, a couple more dribbles and you had Reed on a mismatch inside.
Watkins looking to take over, pulls the trigger. Watkins has 13 for the Seminoles.
And that's why he has to be in the game. And Hildreth that time went and slapped at the ball, very nearly got it. So if Hildreth is in the neighborhood, as we've said, you've got to be very strong with the basketball.
Foul on the outside, called on a Seminole. And they'll get Ewin. That is his 3rd personal foul.
Wake Forest has been very aggressive with the basketball. And sometimes it looks like they're forcing it. But overall, that aggression has really helped them.
They are 63 and 14 at home during Steve Forbes' tenure in his 5th season. 10 to shoot. Sallis has a big on him. Sallis burrows, and he rattles it through.
You know, Ewin usually does a pretty good job staying in front of guards, but a normal guard and Sallis are 2 different beasts.
The all-league player, up to 16 points for Wake tonight. Bol Bowen, he's fouled at the rim by Reed, and that'll be the 4th on Efton Reed. So 4 on Watkins for Florida State, and now 4 on the Wake Forest 7-footer Reed.
Now, those are the kind of fouls that Reed is going to get, and those are the kind of fouls that a 7-footer should get, trying to block a shot inside. He had, that's 4 fouls, but 2 of his fouls were silly fouls. And that's the one thing with Efton Reed. He plays very hard. He's a very valuable player on this Wake Forest team, but sometimes he commits silly fouls.
They bring in Ballou, who's played quality minutes tonight. He's logged 10 minutes in just his 6th appearance all season long. Bol Bowen goes 2 for 2.
And what Ballou has to do is accomplish the task that Reed was accomplishing on the backboards. Reed was getting a lot of rebounds. He was doing a great job blocking Ewin out. And that's what Ballou has to do. They don't need offense from him. They need defense and rebounding.
Wake has made 5 of their last 6 shots. Sallis gets inside, soft touch around the basket.
And you saw Watkins didn't go after that ball. Watkins had a shot at it. Nice play inside. I didn't see who that was, but they blocked out and really created a lane for Sallis.
It's back to a 16-point lead. Jackson pulls up and cans a jumper.
And that's Jackson's game. Driving to the basket or the mid-range shot. He's taken a couple of threes tonight, and that's really not his strength.
Florida State has shot the ball much better in this second half, 45%. Hildreth, a 3 wide right.
Well, I mean, he's been very hot, so that's okay.
Bol Bowen wide open, and he snaps the net. It's a trifecta. Florida State's within 11.
Hildreth missed a 3, and that creates a long rebound, which allows Florida State to get out and run. And Steve Forbes called that timeout because you got to find the three-point shooters, and Bowen is the best they have.
Sallis turned away on the baseline. Cross-court skip. Fredrickson a 3. Bol Bowen, the aforementioned player for the Seminoles, with the rebound. Knocked out of bounds by Wake. Stays on this end.
And Fredrickson is a guy who they really expected to make 30 or 40 threes this year, but he just has not shot the ball well. His confidence seems to have gone. And so he missed that 3. You know, if he's not scoring, he's a guy who's not really going to help you very much.
And he was a really good shooter a season ago. Watkins, he's up to 15 for Florida State. It's a 9-point lead for Wake, and Florida State's on a 7-0 run.
Now remember, Florida State only scored 21 points in the first half. They've scored 31 already in this half.
It was a 14-point Wake Forest lead at the break. Pocket pass, nice find. Miss from Spillers.
You got to go just strong with the basketball. You can't do that little fadeaway hook. Be worried about blocking and getting the shot blocked.
Bol Bowen a 3. Into the hands of a Seminole, and a dunk, the freshman Swinton. It's down to a 7-point lead, and the run is a 9-0 Florida State burst. And a steal, Bol Bowen. It's knocked out of bounds, and it's Florida State basketball.
Well, the Wake Forest offense has totally evaporated. Florida State doing a nice job covering up Sallis and Hildreth, and nobody else out there has been able to break through.
And those two guys have scored 17 of the last 19 for Wake. Bol Bowen's hit the floor, and he's out of bounds.
And again, Bol Bowen is trying to back in because he's matched up against Tyler Johnson. And under normal circumstances, that's a good idea. But not with Hildreth there, ready to swat the basketball away.
And Dan, that is the first Florida State turnover in this half.
And that's another reason why their offense is cooking a little bit.
Under 6 to play. Trying to force feed Hildreth.
But Johnson fell down.
Watkins. Ten to shoot. Watkins has it. Watkins against Sallis. Double comes. Bol Bowen floating, firing a 3. It's short.
Wake caught a break right there. Spillers got too far away from Bol Bowen. It's been a while since Wake scored.
Over 3 minutes without a basket. Underneath. Spillers with the slam. The assist, Sallis.
Boy, Sallis has done such a great job of that, drawing the defense and kicking it. And the last time Spillers got it, he shot that little fadeaway hook. That time he went up and dunked it, and that's exactly what Wake Forest needed.
That's the 3rd assist tonight for Sallis.
There
Watkins, offensive foul. You called it, and that's number 5 on Watkins.
Well, Watkins, I mean, you can't blame him. He's trying to make a play, but Sallis is a very good defender. And, of course, Sallis is a pretty good offensive player, too. There's 4 guys around him. He finds the open man. And then this is just a situation. He's got his position established. Watkins runs right into his chest. That's an offensive foul, and Watkins is done.
A sensational defensive play by the senior Hunter Sallis. And Watkins, he was starting to get buckets, up to 15 points.
Tyler Johnson has been a little bit shaky here, particularly in this second half. And so he's got to calm down a little bit to help Wake get to the finish line.
Wake trying to move to 12-1 at home this year. Sallis out of bounds to the Seminoles.
Sallis tried to dunk that one. I think if he just lays it in, he's got a basket. But, I mean, you're playing against Florida State. They're coming to block everything. You can't blame a guy for trying to dunk it.
Most home wins since the 2021-22 campaign. Houston with 62, then Wake and Duke with 59 apiece. This is a tough environment. Stays with Florida State on this end. 10 on the shot clock. Just a hair over 4 minutes left on the game clock. Reed will re-enter the lineup for the Demon Deacons with his 4 fouls.
Boy, the Deeks have been working hard, and you have to wonder if Florida State, they've played more guys, if at this point in the game that might be a factor. Of course, it doesn't help much with Watkins being out, but Florida State has other guys who can put the ball in the basket.
Who has to take over for the Seminoles?
They got to get it to Ewin. It's the same deal as in the first half. They have to create situations where Ewin can get the ball.
That foul sends us to a timeout. Florida State's at the line when we...
This one out tonight. Florida State, sometimes they've struggled scoring, not in this half, but they're really good at the free throw line, and so Wake Forest has to play good defense without fouling.
What's been the difference for Florida State in this second half? They're almost 50% from the floor.
Well, number one, they've gotten better shots. They've hit a couple of threes, and their defense has caused Wake Forest has created some turnovers, got them some easy baskets.
It's a 7-point game with 4 minutes on the nose to play, and here's the Florida State pressure.
But when he starts kicking the leg out like that, you just think he's going all the way to the basket.
Trying to turn the corner.
Florida State's doing a nice job preventing him from passing the ball.
7 on the shot clock. Hildreth kept it the entire time, and that's partially blocked.
Well, that is not a good offensive possession.
Bol Bowen. Thomas a 3. Got it.
And just like that, it is a 4-point game. And tremendous Florida State defense the last time did not allow Wake Forest to run anything.
The Seminoles have ratcheted up the defensive intensity. It's a 4-point Wake Forest lead.
Well, you can't have that kind of defensive intensity on the perimeter without maybe creating some opportunities on the interior.
Sallis bumping, and he's fouled. Had Thomas on him. And this will put Sallis at the line for Wake Forest. Well, we have 6 more college basketball games that highlight our ESPN schedule Saturday. It all starts at noon Eastern, but these are our featured matchups. Number 1 Auburn takes on number 2 Alabama at 4 Eastern in a Sonic blockbuster. Then Syracuse, they host North Carolina, and at 8 Eastern, number 15 Kentucky squares off against Texas at the Moody Center in Austin. A whole slate on Saturday on our ESPN family of networks.
I think Sallis and Hildreth and Johnson just have to tough it out on the perimeter and get around their guys, and that'll create some opportunities for people like Reed down on the inside.
Thomas has 2 threes.
And he just ran down the court. Nobody followed him. He got lost.
He's a 35% three-point shooter. Had just 19 threes all year coming into this one. It's a 1-possession lead for Wake. Inside of 2.5 minutes, Sallis, ton of contact, and a foul called on the floor. It's on Florida State, and it's on Daquan Davis, just his first. 1-and-1 time for Wake Forest the rest of the way.
And obviously, if you're Wake Forest, you're going to be going to the free throw line. So you're going to have to be able to make them. In conference play, they shoot 77%. Sallis, as good a player as he is, he's not one of their better free throw shooters. 73% is fine, but...
He's 6 for 8 tonight after that miss. Who takes this shot for Florida State?
Well, I think they're going to be looking for Ewin on the inside. If they can't get him in there, then Bol Bowen or Thomas, I think, are your options.
Davis will keep it himself, and he draws a foul, and the freshman going to the line to shoot 2.
And that's the one thing you cannot do, is put them on the line, particularly Davis.
4th foul on Johnson.
But Johnson has had a tough second half in particular. This is an amazing comeback by Florida State. They just hung in there, and they continue their comeback despite the fact that Watkins fouled out of the game.
They've done it without their 18-point-per-game scorer. Davis is an 82% foul shooter. That's a rare miss.
Well, now you got to block out if you're the Deacs.
Florida State had just 21 points at halftime. They've hung 41 on Wake here in the second half. Davis splits the pair.
Well, I think their defense has gotten Wake Forest speeded up. Wake has taken some tough shots. They've turned the ball over, and both of those things have allowed Florida State to get out and go a little bit, and that's where the Seminoles are at their best, is when they can play in transition.
Let's see how Wake handles the pressure. Reed underneath, spinning. Just his 3rd field goal. Points in the paint for Wake Forest. Out of bounds. It'll stay with Florida State on this end. 1:26 to go. They had 2 looks at the basket from close range.
They're going to go look at that one.
Four-point lead for Wake Forest with $1:26 to play.
But Davis drove it in there, and he was looking for the foul. And he drew Efton Reed.
Previous play is under review.
And because Reed came, then there was offensive rebounding opportunities available. Ewin keeps it alive, then it bounces off the rim. And that certainly looks like it was off Tyler Johnson. Yeah, he's got that green wrap on his hand, and so it's very clear.
He was the player hustling to the ball that was bouncing out of bounds. All right, take us inside the huddle. 4-point lead for Wake Forest. How do they hang on with 1:26 to go?
Well, this is, in terms of field goal percentage, this is the top defensive team in the ACC. And so your defense...
Ball, 1:26 to go. Flashing open, a dunk for Ewin.
A 20-6 Florida State run. And it's been built on their defense. And for Wake Forest, you got to get a good shot.
Johnson is terminated.
Again, I think it's hard against Florida State to pick up your dribble when you don't have any place to pass.
5 to shoot. Sallis rises up, spits out, rebound Florida State. Inside of a minute to play, the Seminoles can tie or take the lead. They want a timeout. They've scored 20 of the last 26
Justin Thomas has come in the game here and done a really good job in the last few minutes, particularly since Watkins fouled out of the game.
This is not a lineup you'd expect to see for Florida State in the closing minutes.
I think you try to find Ewin where you let Davis drive the ball.
Underneath, Ewin hanging and hitting, and we're deadlocked at 67.
I think they called a timeout.
Timeout, Wake Forest with 28.4 to play. Tied at 67. Wake Forest led by as many as 16. It was 61-45 with 8:22 left in this game. They had it. Florida State has come storming back.
Well, Ewin doing a great job moving without the ball, and he's down inside against Spillers, and that's a mismatch. And Sallis came and tried to help, but good strength by Ewin to get it up on the board. Now, there's 2.4 seconds difference between the shot clock and the game clock. But if you're Wake Forest, I think you take it, you're tied. So you take the clock down and you try to get the last shot. If they were not tied, you take the first good shot you get. But in this particular situation, now Florida State's going to make it hard for them to do that. They're going to be pressuring everything.
Do you go to Hildreth or do you go to Sallis if you're Wake?
Either one of those guys is a good option, but what I think, if you go to those guys, you might be going for them to create something for their teammates. Both Sallis and Hildreth have done a very good job of that tonight. You know, Spillers has been able to play very well inside, as has Reed.
Wake Forest part of the last four in, according to Joe Lenardi's bracketology. Meanwhile, Florida State, this would be their first quad one win of the season. And just their second true road win.
Now, Wake has struggled with turnovers, and so the first thing you got to do if you're the Deacs is get the ball in bounds.
The Florida State length has been bothersome here in the second half. They're the second tallest team in the country. Hildreth, a jump stop, and a jump from Reed.
Now, if you're going to get that kind of shot, you take it. Now you're gone. And if you're Florida State, the shot clock is off, but you cannot afford, well, you might want to hold the ball for the last shot. You want to play good defense without fouling, because it's not a three-point game, it's a two-point game. And you don't want to put them on the line to give them a chance to tie the game.
Florida State calls a timeout. Well, Wake Forest lay off of 2 feet, and watch this jump stop from Hildreth.
And it's a great cut by Reed. Again, you're thinking about, okay, we might want to be holding it for the last shot unless they give us something that we can manage. And certainly you're going to take a dunk no matter what time it is, because now the pressure is all on Wake Forest on the ball and try to get to the line.
Florida State is shooting 53% in this second half.
And you take the first good shot you get.
Davis. Bol Bowen for the lead. It's there! Florida State's first lead since it was 13-10.
Oh, what is he
Johnson! Miss! Rebound, Seminoles! There's still 6 seconds to play. Wake has to foul. A dunk from Thomas! Florida State by 3 with a second left. Hildreth, he's fouled! Hildreth is fouled on a half-court heave.
The question is, was he fouled before or after the horn?
Previous players under review.
The foul is called on the freshman, Daquan Davis. This is insanity.
Well, the question is, did the foul occur before the horn?
Ooh. Now remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, the clock stops when the whistle blows, not when there was contact.
Well, that's when the clock stops, but the question isn't when the clock stopped, when was the foul? So it's not when the official calls the foul, it's when the foul occurred.
Okay. It's under review.
But the big question, there's the contact right there, and it looks to me like he's released that ball.
Yeah, the other question, is it a shooting foul?
Yes.
Which would be 3 free throws for Cameron Hildreth, an 84% foul shooter.
And how much time is left on the clock?
After the ruling of voice confirmed, it'll be 3-shot foul for Wake Forest. 0.3 on the game clock.
0.3 on the clock, and Hildreth is shooting 3 free throws.
The big question is, Tyler Johnson had lots of time. Why was he shooting a wild three-point shot?
Florida State pulled down the rebound. There was still 7 seconds left.
Yeah.
They got it ahead for a dunk. He missed it.
That's tough, having to go to the line to make 3.
Florida State will have the
Now
lead
with
either way.
point three, you do not have time to catch the ball and shoot it. All you can do is tip it. So his only choice at this point in time is to make this one, miss the next one, and have a tip.
Got that one to go.
So now you cannot catch it. Nobody can catch it. You just have to tip it.
And remember, Florida State is the 2nd tallest team in America.
And they're getting all the big guys in here because you don't have to worry about handling the ball.
They've got 5 players on this roster that are 6'10" or taller.
And again, you cannot catch the ball. The only possibility you have here is a tip.
A miss and a tip in would send it into overtime. It's airborne. Out of bounds. Clock expires. And the game is over. Florida State has stunned Wake Forest, finishing the game on a 27-0